Let's be honest, there's no guidebook when it comes to relationships. So we end up having to stumble through life trying to figure things out for ourselves. What if there was a podcast that found the answers for you, that provided insight to build a successful relationship and ultimately find the companionship you've always hoped for? Welcome to the Girls Ask Guys show, where we answer the questions most people are afraid to ask when it comes to lessons in life and love. It's time to master this thing called life together with your hosts, John and Ashley.
And welcome back, all of you gangsters, to your 10-Minute Tuesday. We've got some exciting news coming your way because we got a series coming at you.
And before we get into the details about our series, let's talk about foreplay. It is the lowest pressure dating environment that you have ever seen in your entire life. You're allowed to explore being single, right? But you don't have to worry about expectations. So I think as we go up with the series, foreplay is going to play a huge part, especially if you fit the criteria for the series we're about to be talking about.
Exactly. I mean, this really gives you a more natural way of meeting other people. And you don't have to go out there with all the pressures of thinking, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Is there that spark? Is it not the spark? That's pretty much eliminated.
Right.
And really, the only place you're going to find something like that is on the Foreplay app. Now, you might be thinking, foreplay. No, it's F-O-U-R, play.
Yes, that's it. And you are just, you're double dating, you're casual. Everything's going to be really fun. And if you have any questions about foreplay, you can always go to our website, girlsaskguyshow.com, and you'll see a little blurb about it. And then, and they have a website too, right?
Yes, it's Foreplay Social, F-O-U-R-P-L-A-Y social.com.
I'm very excited about the series. John was like, I got an idea. And I was like, oh, great. This is going to be fun. And he's like, our series. And I was like, yes, finally.
Yeah, actually, this one, it kind of hit me upside the head, like really hard, because I was out there, I was following some details from another question that I thought would make a very good little 10-Minute Tuesday type topic. But this one hit me upside the head because it's a full-on video about dating after 30.
Ooh, all right. That seems fun. And now we know from our demographic, there's a fair few of you who are single and you are 30 and over. And we figure, you know what? We understand that there is there's a defining moment in your life. And I would say turning 30 is that defining moment. You're no longer in your 20s anymore. You have to be an adult and you're looking for something different.
And the video that I saw was a woman, and she is not too far over 30, but she was literally in tears, crying. I mean, there's an entire section that I skipped through, and you know how you can hit the little skip forward and it skips 10 seconds? Well, I actually stopped doing that after about a minute because I had to skip 3 minutes of her sitting there watching her cry about not being able to find somebody, not being able to connect with anybody, and all the stigma that she was finding that was happening in her life.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm over 30 and I'm having zero problems meeting people.
Right. Yeah. And I think it is different for men and women. So I'm sure we're going to highlight that. Remember, usually when a man is over 30, me and John were talking about this before we started, and he was saying how men usually like to date as they get older, they date young.
Well, actually, younger women, when they're in their late 20s and sometimes early 20s, they usually date older guys because they're looking for more of that stability.
Yeah.
And that younger guys don't have. I mean, the guy who's in his 30s, he has career, he's making some good cash, he can afford to take her out and
right. And the guy in his 20s is just getting started.
He's still trying to figure out how to pay his electric bill.
Oh yeah. Shit.
But as guys get older, they tend to date younger, but younger women tend to date older guys. But you hit that 30 zone and it's like, okay, I don't want the younger crowd anymore. I really don't want the older crowd.
Right. I don't want to go to the
older
club.
crowd is actually getting much older.
Right. I don't want to go to the club, but I also don't want to go play bingo. What do I do? And I think that is super important that we touch on it. And I think if you're in this age bracket, and I think, honestly, even in your late 20s, you get to this point where you're like, I'm getting ready to be 30. You kind of want to stay away from these things like these child activities. But then you also don't want, like I said, you don't want to go play bingo every night. So it's, how do I meet people? I think that's one of the number one things we need to start talking about is how you meet people where you go, what to do, things like that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things about the younger crowd, especially when you're in your 20s or even in high school, college, you're surrounded by thousands of people, like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
And because even when I was going to college, I go from class to class to class, and I'd have a couple people that were studying the same thing, so we kind of are in the same classes. But I'm going from the film department to the English department to the math department, and there's all kinds of new people. Very easy to talk with people. But when you enter the professional world, you go into, I don't care if it's a big corporation or some small office. You go from 1,000 people to a couple hundred, and maybe down to even under 10, depending on how big your team is. In my profession where I normally work, I have either one other person or I have 4 people. Hopefully one of them is somebody that I can actually talk to.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's very true. And I mean, I noticed that too. As you get older, you kind of stop. The friends you had in high school and college, you still have, but you're never really in that opportunity to meet someone new. And when you are in the opportunity to meet someone new, it's in like the weirdest places, like the grocery store, which apparently is like John's like hunting ground.
It's so easy. It really is.
Like, I'll see you on aisle 5. And that's a very cool thing. I think developing good habits after 30, like going to the gym, going out and joining one of those meetups or something like that, like a volleyball meetup or something like that, will really just kind of help you out in terms of that kind of stuff. So maybe we're going to talk about, obviously, the steps to take dating after 30. We're definitely going to talk about places you should probably be. And then I think one of the hardest things is if you're dating after 30 and you have children, like the precautions you need to take and all of those things.
Yeah, well, it's not just that, but also your expectations. You either need to broaden them or you need to get extremely specific as to and that's something that we've continuously talked about.
Yeah, don't just date someone because they smile at you. Date someone because you want to date them and they want to date you and it's happy. And I think there's more of a life distraction kind of thing versus in your teens and stuff, you're distracted by fast money, sex, and what I imagine is an endless amount of marijuana these days. But in your 30s, you're distracted by like bills. You know what I mean? Like there's a life distraction too that we probably should talk about also.
Yeah, and you also have to take into consideration what you want, because some people, they have extremely low bars when they're in their teens and their 20s as the kind of people they want to go out with. But as they get older, they raise the bar so high that unless they're Superman, they're not going to be able to cross it.
Right. Like all of a sudden you go from, having zero self-esteem in your teens to having too much self-esteem in your 30s. And it happens. And it's a good thing when that self-esteem goes on that spike. But you still need to reel it back in. You're still a person. People are still people. And I don't think necessarily there's a such thing as having too high of standards, but I think there's definitely a thing of having unrealistic standards.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I'm talking about. Their standards are unrealistic, especially the older you get, because if you're looking for somebody who is in their 40s or even in their late 30s, and you're saying, I don't want them to divorce. Okay, well, we have 50% divorce rate in this country. No kids. They need to have a good job. They need to have a good savings account, a nice house, and have like a career, and they want a large family. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know what kind of person you're looking for, but nobody's going to meet all of those standards unless they've lived in a cave. It's going to be extremely difficult. And if you're slow as far as getting to those topics, let's take a fast relationship. Okay, so let's say this woman is 34 years old. So she's 34. She finally meets somebody and they go out and they date. Okay, so let's say they date for a year. So now she's 35. Then he pops the question and they're going to get married, depending on how big they want the wedding. Okay, let's say that's another year. So now she's 36. And then they stay married and have single life fun together. So now she's 37. Then they want to have kids. Okay, so now she's 38.
Wow. Yeah. That's okay. That is. Wow. This is going to be a very fun series. Like, as I said, as I put all that into perspective, I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So we're going to have a lot to dissect. And as you guys know, when we do a series, we get real thorough with it. So you can expect a lot of statistics. You can expect a lot of opinions, and you can expect really some actionable ideas on what you're doing, how to change it, once you turn 30. And you can definitely expect some places for us to suggest you to go. I would get a notepad if I were you, because I'm not saying we know what we're talking about, but we do.
Yeah. And with that, if you want to get like a head start on something like this, you really should go check out Fourplay. That's FOUR, fourplaysocial.com, because it is a very low pressure type of environment in which you can team up with a friend and go out and meet other singles. And if you don't catch red flags, hopefully they will catch those red flags. And you really don't have to go out and expect sparks, because if it doesn't work, you have your friend there. So the night is not wasted. You can actually go someplace else and go have some fun with your friend.
Right. And the beauty is, if you're dating over 30, everybody's 21. So it's not like you have to wait for anybody. There's no expectation, actually, because you guys are just going out. You're like we said before, it is the lowest pressure dating environment that you'll ever be in. So you'll be comfortable. You'll have so much fun. It just won't be weird, or awkward. You have to figure out what to talk about. So definitely go check out Fourplay. Download it on the Apple Store. Download it in the Google Play Store. Go to our website, check it out. But always make sure that you're dating safely, you're having fun, and you're doing it right.
Yes. And with that, we will catch you on our series on the next one.
That's all for this episode of the Girls Ask Guys show, where all of us learn to master this thing called life together. For more answers to your questions on life and love, be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode. And head to girlsaskguyshow.com to submit your questions for a future episode, or apply to be a guest on the show. Good luck out there, and we'll catch you next time, right here on the Girls Ask Guys show.